Well, the Democrats this week are focused on what they consider the number one priority for them. That's why they labeled the bill S1, HR 1. It is the Democrats' number one priority, and they are wanting to rig the rules of the Senate to get it passed. Now, that doesn't mean it's the number one priority of the American people. People across the country are concerned about things like inflation and COVID and crime in the cities and the crisis at the southern border. But for the Democrats, they think the number one thing affecting the country is they want Washington to take over elections in the United States. So what really is the most important questions? Well, Gallup had a recent poll on this. And what Gallup says is the number one issue is economy, poor leadership at the federal level, COVID, immigration, and this issue of election reform, that came in at number 23. It was only an asterisk in the Gallup poll as an issue of concern for the American people, when the American people know what's of concern to them. So Senator Blunt mentioned local election officials. I've heard from our Secretary of State, Ed Buchanan, and let me just share a few of the things that he says about elections. And he says, number one, I'm writing to oppose and express my opposition to the Democrats' attempt to federalize our elections. He goes on and says, Senator Schumer's statements are offensive on their face, suggesting that Republican-led state legislators pass laws designed for the purpose of voter suppression, he says, is slanderous and is a political lie to the American people. He said, interestingly, in Senator Schumer's home state of New York, they are moving forward in some jurisdictions with plans to allow non-citizens to vote. Based on this, he says, it is clear that Democrats want to change the rules whenever they think they can gain an advantage at the polls. He goes on, this is right in line with their wish to change the filibuster rules in the U.S. Senate. Because the Democrat agenda does not resonate with everyday working Americans, they must resort to less than honorable tactics. They do not seem to understand that it is their misguided policies, giving catalyst to rising energy and food costs, that are their biggest impediments to election, not Republican state legislatures that want to protect election integrity. And to me, that's what it's about: ballot integrity, ballot accountability, ballot security, and that's what we're here fighting to defend.
Well, in the past 6 years, Democrats in the Senate have filibustered bills and nominations 589 times. In the past 6 years, 589 times. Now, less than 1 year into the Biden presidency, they've suddenly declared that the filibuster is unfair and it's overused. So they're planning to remake the Senate in their own image, where the voice of the minority is no longer heard and no longer respected. That's the plan for the Democrats. Stop allowing the minority voice to be heard. To be clear, the debate this week is not about voting rights. Federal courts already have the full ability to stay any law in any jurisdiction in any state in America that suppresses any voter or any group of voters. That's in federal law right now. This whole conversation about voter suppression is already protected by federal courts right now. The debate this week that Senator Schumer is bringing is about silencing the voice of the minority in the Senate and everyone that we represent, literally silencing half the country. This is not about protecting our republic or our election. This is about Democrats in Washington taking over every election in every state. This is about Senator Schumer's power. That's what this is all about. He's willing to destroy more than 2 centuries of tradition in the Senate to get his way.
If you want to get into crypto, you need to check out Coinbase. Coinbase is the primary platform.
Well, if you want to get in cryptocurrency, fairy dust money, go ahead and invest. Anyway, I want to say this. I'm gonna try to keep it kind of short. Being that you don't know that you're Indian. Being that then President Barack Hussein Obama, if that's his real name, basically outlawed black people in this country on federal law. So, what does that mean to all my black folks who think they're African Americans or who really can care less what they're called by the federal government? Well, it goes all the way back to the Indian treaties. The last Indian treaty that was made in this country was called the 1968 Indian Civil Rights Bill and the Indian Bill of Rights. Who fought for those rights? Yes, so-called black people, so-called Negroes, so-called coloreds, so-called Aboriginal Indians, us, the descendants of the ancestors of this homeland called America. That being said, we are the landlords of this country. What? Yeah, that's why the black vote counts. That's the only reason why the black vote counts, is because we are the landlords of this country. Do you understand that Washington, D.C. is not a part of America? Oh, you didn't know that. They didn't teach you that in school, did they? They still not teaching you that in school. Washington, D.C. is a private entity to itself. It's the District of Columbia. It's an organization that governs the Union. Yeah. You didn't know that. Well, now you do. Do it matter to you? Probably not. But it should. Anyway, the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., then President Barack Hussein Obama, if that's his real name, which is not, signed a law he totally outlawed black people. Black as a representation of the nation of people that was in this country have been outlawed. So that means civil rights, any treaties, any agreements that the Indians, the Aboriginals, the blacks, the Negroes had with this corporation of America, this government, has now been voided because now their names, their titles has been replaced with African American in federal law. This is not a Jesse Jackson slogan. I'm black and I'm proud. We African American. No, we Afro. No. This is federal law. And the government only recognizes federal law. So under federal law, black people don't exist in this country anymore. So black goes to Negro, Negro goes to colored. Colored goes to Indian, Indian goes back to Aboriginal. That's what makes us the landlords of this country. But since the Indonesian president, Barack Hussein Obama, decided to outlaw Negroes in this country, according to federal recognition and federal law, and classify those people as African American, basically immigrants with no immigrant status in this country. Basically, being that we are the landlords to this country and he have outlawed us as an existing people, now this country is up for sale. So voting rights, voting laws, what? Your vote don't count as a black person anymore, and you would no longer hear that. You would no longer hear vote or die. Your vote, you would no longer hear that anymore. Because the black vote was they needed the landlords to vote. Nothing can get done without the landlord's approval. However they put it on TV, however they try to program it, persuade us to vote a certain direction, they still needed our vote. Now our vote is outlawed. So now they're trying to get rid of the so-called filibuster. Or basically who they call the minority vote. So now they're letting illegals and whoever else in this country vote because everybody else falls under civil rights but the Negro. Because African Americans have never fought for anything, nor have any treaties, nor have any standing in the court of law of America. They have no federal recognition in this country. They have no land. They have no rights. There is no affirmative action for them. African Americans had fought for nothing. So they have nothing in this country. So civil rights and all those affirmative action, why do you think they keep hiring all these immigrants at your job? There is no more affirmative action. Black Lives Matter has become an organization, not a people. Black doesn't exist. Negro doesn't exist anymore in this country ever since 2016. So-called black Americans have become African Americans, whatever that is. So understand that the takeover of this country depended on your ignorance of self. You not caring that you're Indian, you're Aboriginal. You not us as a people, not continuing the traditions and the truth of who we are within our families from generation to generation has caused us to lose everything. Everything. It's over. It's over. We have no stand in this country anymore, according to federal law. How do we go around that? How do we evade that situation? By totally disrespecting federal law. We have to stop our agreement with the federal government. We have to void our agreement with the federal government. They can no longer do business in this country anymore. But until we recognize who we are, until my family and your family and every other black American family decides to say, you know what? Let's stop playing this African game because we know we're not African. And let's fight for our country because they're taking it away from us. Then, and only then, will we defeat the evil that plagues our nation. But as long as we stay ignorant, for even in the Bible, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge because they reject knowledge. If you reject yourself, if you discontinue from the heritage that you was given by God, you allow foreigners to come into your house and play landlord and document basically erase us. The pen is mightier than the sword. Knowing who you are is very important. If you don't realize that every foreigner, every foreign national that comes to this country holds up their flag, that's not immigration. That's not, I want to be American. Those are soldiers. When you go to war, the other side hold up their flag and you hold up your flag. You hold up your symbol of your nation, of your interests, and they hold up theirs. So people coming to this country holding up their flag are showing you and telling you that they're here for war. They're here to plunder, rob, and pillage. The only people that don't have a flag in this country are the original people of this country. So everybody that comes here and hold up their flag Even the American flag is a symbol of trade and commerce, the business aspect of Washington, D.C. Everybody that comes here, that holds up their flag in front of us, the original people of this land, is letting you know this is a declaration of war.